Lead with love. Transform your leadership and team dynamics. Are you burning out while trying to lead others? Discover the powerful connection between self-love and leadership. Learn how taking care of yourself can unlock your true leadership potential and inspire your team to thrive. In today's fast-paced world, leaders often find themselves exhausted, overworked, and disconnected from their own well-being. But what if the secret to being a better leader lies within you? Welcome to Lead with Self-Love, where we explore how self-care, empathy, and personal growth are the cornerstones of effective leadership. Drawing from Thibaut Muris's insights, this audiobook will help you identify the signs of burnout, enhance your self-worth, and build a team culture that prioritizes well-being and collaboration. Let's redefine leadership together. Focus points. Recognizing burnout. Learn to identify early signs of burnout and the importance of self-care to prevent exhaustion. The power of self-worth. Discover practical exercises to boost self-worth, transforming how you lead yourself and others. Balancing leadership and self-care. Understand how maintaining a healthy balance between giving and receiving can prevent burnout. Team unity through empathy. Exercises and strategies to create a supportive, empathetic, and thriving team culture. Magnetizing talent. Learn how integrating self-love into your leadership style naturally attracts talented, motivated individuals to your team. Learning outcomes. Recognize the physical and emotional signs of burnout and how to address them before it's too late. Cultivate a leadership style rooted in self-love, fostering a healthier relationship with yourself and your team. Boost your self-worth and confidence through practical self-care techniques. Build a team environment where empathy, balance, and collaboration thrive, enhancing productivity and morale. Discover how self-love not only benefits you, but also magnetizes the right people and resources to your leadership journey. This audiobook will be a game changer for anyone looking to elevate their leadership by prioritizing self-love and well-being. Focus point 1. Recognizing burnout. Burnout is often an unseen enemy that gradually erodes our ability to function effectively, both personally and professionally. For leaders, recognizing burnout is crucial, as the impact of their well-being reverberates throughout their team. Understanding the signs of burnout is not just about managing your own energy, but also about maintaining a healthy, productive environment for those you lead. The cost of ignoring burnout. Burnout isn't simply physical exhaustion. It's a state of emotional, mental, and physical depletion caused by prolonged stress. Leaders who neglect the early warning signs often find themselves in a cycle of frustration, irritability, and diminished performance. A 2019 study published by the World Health Organization classified burnout as an occupational phenomenon, noting that it results from chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. The research identified 3 primary dimensions: overwhelming exhaustion, feelings of cynicism or detachment from the job, and a sense of ineffectiveness. Consider the case of Erin Deal, who worked tirelessly in a toxic work environment, sacrificing personal time for professional demands. Although she initially viewed overwork as a sign of her dedication, the constant stress eventually drained her both physically and emotionally. She began to dread tasks that once motivated her, feeling isolated and disconnected. This story echoes many leaders' experiences who push themselves to the brink in an effort to meet ever-increasing demands. The psychological toll. Burnout doesn't happen overnight. It creeps in slowly, often masked by productivity and a sense of purpose. Leaders may confuse tiredness with accomplishment, but when everyday tasks begin to feel overwhelming, it's a signal that deeper issues are at play. Research conducted by Dr. Christina Maslach, a pioneer in the field of burnout, found that emotional exhaustion and depersonalization, the sense of being emotionally distant or indifferent, are among the earliest indicators of burnout. These symptoms not only undermine personal health, but can also erode team morale and productivity. A compelling insight comes from Deal's personal journey. Although she moved to a new, supportive job, her burnout persisted because the issue wasn't solely her previous employer. It was her own relationship with work. This highlights that burnout isn't always about the external environment, It's also about how we internalize stress. Leaders often take on too much because they believe their value is directly tied to their output, a harmful mindset that perpetuates exhaustion. Physical symptoms and behavioral red flags. Burnout manifests in various ways. Leaders may experience insomnia, chronic fatigue, or irritability, which could result in strained relationships with colleagues and family members. Physical symptoms such as frequent headaches, digestive issues, or even persistent colds are signals that the body is under duress. Ignoring these signs only leads to more significant health issues. One of the more insidious aspects of burnout is that it can dampen creativity and problem-solving abilities. Leaders may notice that tasks that once took an hour now take an entire day. This is the mind's way of shutting down to conserve energy. Additionally, the emotional toll of burnout often leads to disengagement. Sunday evening anxiety becomes routine, and the thought of another workweek feels daunting rather than inspiring. A famous quote by Anne Lamott succinctly captures the struggle. Almost everything will work again if you unplug it for a few minutes, including you. Leaders, in particular, need to recognize when they need to unplug to preserve their well-being. Recommendations for addressing burnout. To combat burnout, leaders must take a proactive approach. First, it's essential to recognize the red flags. When tasks feel overwhelming and emotional exhaustion takes hold, it's time to reassess. Writing down the activities that drain your energy and identifying patterns can be a starting point for realignment. In addition, incorporating self-care into your daily routine is non-negotiable. Leaders often feel guilty for taking time for themselves, but research suggests that recovery time enhances productivity. Short breaks, adequate sleep, physical exercise, and time spent with loved ones are all critical components of managing stress. It's also helpful to implement boundaries at work. Saying no to extra tasks or delegating responsibilities can lighten the load and empower your team. Aaron Deal, for example, learned that prioritizing self-care didn't diminish her leadership, but enhanced it. When leaders lead by example, prioritizing their own well-being, it creates a ripple effect throughout the organization, signaling to employees that balance and self-care are essential. Finally, reframing your relationship with work can help prevent burnout in the long term. Viewing your worth as separate from your output allows for a healthier mindset, fostering sustainable leadership. In summary, recognizing and addressing burnout requires self-awareness, boundaries, and a commitment to self-care. Leaders must realize that taking care of themselves is not a luxury, it's a necessity. By doing so, they not only enhance their own performance, but also create a culture of well-being that benefits the entire team. Focus point 2. Balancing giving and receiving in leadership. Leadership often carries an implicit expectation. The leader must give relentlessly, time, energy, resources, and attention, without expecting anything in return. While the spirit of selfless service is essential to effective leadership, it must be balanced with the ability to receive support, feedback, and rest. Leaders who fail to maintain this equilibrium risk not only personal burnout, but also undermining their leadership effectiveness. A balanced approach to giving and receiving ensures sustainability, nurtures creativity, and fosters a healthy organizational culture. The overgiving trap in leadership. Many leaders fall into the trap of overgiving, driven by a belief that their role requires them to serve others at all costs. Overgiving is often rooted in a sense of responsibility, where leaders feel that they must constantly be available and meet everyone's needs. While this is commendable in the short term, it can lead to long-term exhaustion and resentment. Take the case of David, a mid-level manager in a growing tech company. He often stayed late at the office, took on additional tasks, and provided constant support to his team, believing that this was his duty as a leader. Initially, his team thrived under his guidance, but over time, David became irritable, emotionally drained, and less effective. His overgiving created an unsustainable dynamic. His team became increasingly reliant on his assistance, and he became increasingly overburdened. In David's case, overgiving not only hindered his personal well-being, but also limited his team's growth and self-sufficiency. A critical insight from leadership expert Breen Brown highlights this issue. Daring leaders work to make sure people can be themselves and feel a sense of belonging. But they also model the courage to set boundaries and say no. Effective leadership requires knowing when to give and when to step back, allowing others to take responsibility. The importance of receiving. Just as giving is vital, receiving is equally important in leadership. Leaders often feel uncomfortable receiving help, feedback, or even rest, equating it with weakness or inadequacy. However, receiving is not a sign of deficiency. Rather, it is an essential part of growth. Leaders who are open to receiving feedback foster a culture of continuous improvement. Those who receive support from their teams strengthen trust and collaboration. Research from Harvard Business School underscores the power of receiving feedback in leadership. Studies show that leaders who actively seek feedback are more likely to be seen as effective by their teams. Moreover, those who model openness to receiving create an environment where team members feel safe to share their insights, leading to better decision-making and innovation. This principle is demonstrated in the case of Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft, who embraced a learn-it-all mindset. Nadella's openness to receiving feedback transformed Microsoft's culture, fostering a growth mindset that empowered employees at all levels to innovate and experiment without fear of failure. The reciprocity principle in leadership. The balance between giving and receiving is best understood through the lens of the reciprocity principle, a concept rooted in social psychology. The principle posits that people feel obliged to return favors or kindness, creating a cycle of mutual benefit. In the context of leadership, when leaders give to their teams, whether through mentorship, guidance, or support, it encourages employees to reciprocate by contributing their best efforts. However, for this dynamic to be sustainable, leaders must also allow themselves to receive from others, whether it's constructive feedback, assistance with tasks, or moments of rest. Consider the example of Jack Ma, founder of Alibaba. In the early years of the company, Ma was deeply involved in every aspect of the business, giving his time and energy to build the company's foundation. However, as the company grew, Ma recognized the need to step back and allow others to contribute. By receiving insights from his team and trusting their abilities, Ma fostered a culture of shared leadership, which enabled Alibaba to scale and innovate at an extraordinary rate. This aligns with the African proverb, "If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together." Leaders who are willing to receive support and share leadership responsibilities create a sense of ownership and accountability within their teams, ensuring long-term success. Rebuilding the balance, a roadmap for leaders. Achieving the balance between giving and receiving is not an easy task, especially for leaders conditioned to prioritize others' needs over their own. However, several strategies can help restore this equilibrium. Set clear boundaries. Leaders must define their limits and communicate them clearly to their teams. Saying no to certain tasks or requests, as Brené Brown suggests, is a way to ensure that leaders can focus on what truly matters. This also empowers team members to take ownership of their roles, rather than relying on the leader for constant direction. Embrace delegation. Leaders who delegate effectively create space for themselves to rest and recharge. Delegation is not about offloading tasks, but about entrusting others with responsibilities that align with their strengths. This fosters team growth and prevents leaders from becoming overwhelmed. Practice active listening. Receiving isn't just about material help. It's also about listening to feedback and learning from others. Leaders who listen actively, without defensiveness, demonstrate humility and openness, which strengthens team cohesion and trust. Prioritize self-care. Leaders must recognize that taking time for themselves is an investment in their leadership. Regular breaks, exercise, and mindfulness practices are not luxuries but necessities. A rested leader is far more effective and creative than one running on empty. Create a culture of mutual support. A healthy team dynamic encourages both giving and receiving. Leaders can model this by sharing their challenges and inviting their teams to contribute solutions. This creates an atmosphere of trust, where team members feel empowered to both give and receive support. The balance between giving and receiving is essential for sustainable leadership. Leaders who overgive risk burnout and limit the potential of their teams, while those who embrace receiving create a culture of collaboration and growth. As Satya Nadella's example demonstrates, leaders who are open to learning and receiving feedback not only improve their leadership, but also inspire their teams to reach new heights. The reciprocity principle reminds us that leadership is not a one-way street. It is a dynamic exchange of value. In order to lead effectively, leaders must understand that their well-being and the well-being of their teams are interconnected. By fostering a culture where both giving and receiving are encouraged, leaders can build resilient, innovative organizations that thrive over the long term. Focus point 3: cultivating self-love to foster leadership resilience. At the heart of effective and sustainable leadership lies self-love, which often goes unnoticed in discussions about resilience and strength. Many leaders equate self-love with vanity or selfishness, believing that their role demands relentless self-sacrifice. However, true self-love is about respecting one's boundaries, maintaining emotional balance, and nurturing one's mental and physical well-being. It empowers leaders to navigate challenges with clarity and perseverance while fostering a healthier and more balanced organizational environment. The foundation of resilient leadership. Resilience, or the capacity to recover from adversity, is a critical quality for leaders. It allows them to steer their organizations through crises, setbacks, and uncertainty. However, resilience is not an inherent trait. It is built through self-care and self-compassion. Leaders who fail to invest in their own well-being are likely to burn out, lose focus, and struggle to make sound decisions when the stakes are high. Consider the experience of Arianna Huffington, founder of the Huffington Post, who experienced severe burnout in 2007 after years of overworking and neglecting her own needs. She collapsed from exhaustion, which led her to reevaluate her relationship with work and self-care. Realizing that resilience required more than sheer determination, Huffington began to prioritize sleep, meditation, and physical health. This shift not only revitalized her leadership, but also inspired her to found Thrive Global, a company focused on promoting well-being in the workplace. Her experience illustrates that self-love and self-care are essential for long-term resilience. The role of self-compassion in leadership. Self-compassion, a key component of self-love, enables leaders to approach their own failures and setbacks with kindness rather than harsh criticism. Psychologist Kristen Neff, a pioneer in the study of self-compassion, defines it as treating oneself with the same care and understanding one would offer to a friend in times of difficulty. Research has shown that self-compassionate leaders are more likely to remain calm under pressure, recover from setbacks quickly, and avoid the negative consequences of stress. A study by Neff and Germer, 2013, found that practicing self-compassion reduced anxiety and improved overall well-being. Leaders who exhibit self-compassion are less likely to internalize failure or view it as a reflection of their competence. Instead, they learn from their mistakes and use setbacks as opportunities for growth. In contrast, leaders who lack self-compassion tend to engage in self-criticism, which can lead to indecision, fear of failure, and decreased effectiveness. Howard Schultz, former CEO of Starbucks, is an example of a leader who embodies self-compassion. After facing a significant downturn in the company's financial performance in 2008, Schultz publicly took responsibility for the decline. However, instead of blaming himself harshly, he viewed the challenge as an opportunity to reinvent the company's approach. His ability to forgive himself and learn from the situation allowed him to successfully lead Starbucks' turnaround, demonstrating how self-compassion fosters resilience in leadership. The impact of self-love on emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence, EI, is widely recognized as a crucial leadership trait, and self-love directly contributes to its development. Leaders who practice self-love are more attuned to their emotions, which in turn makes them better equipped to manage their reactions and understand the emotional needs of their teams. Research by Daniel Goleman, who popularized the concept of EI, shows that emotionally intelligent leaders are more effective at motivating others, resolving conflicts, and fostering positive work environments. In the corporate world, Satya Nadella's leadership at Microsoft has been widely praised for its emotional intelligence. His focus on empathy, growth mindset, and creating a culture of inclusion has led to a transformation in both the company's culture and its business performance. Nadella's leadership is rooted in his understanding of the importance of self-awareness and emotional balance, key aspects of self-love. His ability to connect with employees on a human level has fostered trust, collaboration, and innovation within the organization. By cultivating self-love, leaders like Nadella build emotional resilience, which allows them to handle stress more effectively and navigate interpersonal dynamics with greater sensitivity. This, in turn, creates a more supportive and psychologically safe workplace, where employees feel valued and empowered to contribute their best work. The long-term benefits of self-love for leadership success. Leaders who prioritize self-love are more likely to experience long-term success and avoid the pitfalls of chronic stress and burnout. When leaders neglect their own needs, they may experience emotional exhaustion, which diminishes their capacity to lead effectively. Over time, this can lead to disengagement, impaired decision-making, and a decline in overall leadership quality. The impact of neglecting self-love is evident in the case of Steve Jobs. Despite his visionary leadership at Apple, Jobs was known for his intense work ethic and perfectionism, often at the expense of his personal health and relationships. In the years following his passing, numerous accounts have emerged of how his relentless drive led to strained relationships with colleagues and loved ones. While his leadership undoubtedly transformed the tech industry, it also serves as a reminder of the costs of neglecting self-care and emotional well-being. In contrast, Richard Branson, founder of the Virgin Group, has long emphasized the importance of self-love and work-life balance. Branson has often spoken about the need to take time for oneself, nurture relationships, and engage in activities that bring joy and fulfillment. His leadership philosophy centers on the idea that happy, healthy leaders create thriving organizations. Branson's commitment to self-care has not only contributed to his personal well-being, but has also fostered a positive, people-centric culture at Virgin, which has been instrumental in the company's enduring success. Recommendations for leaders to cultivate self-love. Develop self-awareness. Leaders must take time to reflect on their emotional and mental well-being. Regular self-assessments can help identify areas where self-love may be lacking, such as excessive self-criticism or neglect of personal needs. Practice self-compassion. When facing challenges or setbacks, leaders should cultivate a mindset of kindness toward themselves. Rather than viewing failure as a personal shortcoming, they should focus on what can be learned from the experience. Prioritize rest and recovery. Leaders should recognize that rest is not a luxury, but a necessity for sustained performance. Regular breaks, vacations, and time spent with loved ones are essential for maintaining emotional balance and preventing burnout. Foster a support network. Building a circle of trusted colleagues, mentors, and friends who can provide encouragement and constructive feedback is crucial for emotional resilience. Leaders should not hesitate to lean on others for support when needed. Embrace personal growth. Self-love involves a commitment to ongoing personal development. Leaders should invest in their emotional and mental growth through activities such as meditation, journaling, or mindfulness practices. Self-love is not a self-indulgent luxury, but a critical foundation for resilient, emotionally intelligent, and effective leadership. Leaders like Arianna Huffington, Howard Schultz, and Richard Branson have demonstrated that prioritizing self-care, self-compassion, and emotional well-being enhances their capacity to lead with clarity, empathy, and strength. By embracing self-love, leaders can not only navigate the demands of leadership more effectively, but also inspire their teams to achieve lasting success. Focus point 4. Building a healthy team culture through empathy and psychological safety. A healthy team culture is the cornerstone of any successful organization. It fosters collaboration, innovation, and engagement, enabling teams to work cohesively and perform at their best. The foundation of this culture rests on two critical elements: empathy and psychological safety. Empathetic leaders who prioritize understanding and addressing their team's emotional needs create an environment where individuals feel secure in expressing themselves, sharing ideas, and taking risks without fear of criticism or retaliation. Empathy as the foundation of team connection. Empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of others, is crucial in building strong, trusting relationships within teams. Empathetic leadership has been linked to higher employee satisfaction, increased loyalty, and improved overall performance. When leaders take the time to listen to their team members' concerns, they build rapport and trust, which motivates employees to invest more in their work and feel a greater sense of belonging. In the leadership of Mary Barra, CEO of General Motors, empathy has played a central role. After a series of product recalls that caused significant harm, Barra led the company through a transformation by acknowledging the company's failings and focusing on creating a culture of transparency and care. She implemented open forums where employees could express their concerns and ideas. Barra's empathetic approach helped restore trust within the organization, and it reflected positively on the company's reputation, proving that empathy in leadership directly impacts the morale and effectiveness of a team. Empathy is not limited to addressing crises, but should be a day-to-day practice. Research conducted by the Center for Creative Leadership shows that empathetic leaders are better at nurturing the development of their employees. This is because empathy enhances a leader's ability to provide personalized feedback and understand the unique challenges each team member faces, which leads to better decision-making and more effective problem-solving. Psychological safety as a driver of innovation and collaboration. Psychological safety, a concept popularized by Harvard Business School professor Amy Edmondson, refers to a team environment where individuals feel safe to take interpersonal risks without fear of negative consequences. In teams with high psychological safety, members are encouraged to voice their opinions, question the status quo, and explore creative solutions, which drives innovation and collaborative problem-solving. Teams that operate in psychologically safe environments outperform those that don't, largely due to their willingness to embrace diverse perspectives and tackle challenges collectively. Google's Project Aristotle, a multi-year study examining the traits of its highest-performing teams, identified psychological safety as the single most important factor in team success. The study found that teams with high psychological safety were more effective, innovative, and cohesive than those without it. This is because when individuals feel safe to speak up, they are more likely to contribute new ideas and identify potential problems early, which leads to better decision-making and fewer mistakes. Psychological safety also promotes accountability within teams. When team members know that their contributions will be respected and valued, they are more likely to take responsibility for their work and acknowledge their own mistakes without fear of blame. This creates a culture of continuous improvement, where learning from errors is encouraged rather than punished. The role of vulnerability in leadership. An important aspect of creating psychological safety is the willingness of leaders to be vulnerable. Leaders who admit their own mistakes, uncertainties, and challenges show that it's okay for others to do the same. Vulnerability is not a sign of weakness. Rather, it builds trust and humanizes leadership, encouraging team members to take their own risks and share their thoughts without fear of judgment. Brené Brown, a leading researcher on vulnerability and leadership, emphasizes that vulnerability is at the core of innovation and creativity. Leaders who are open about their imperfections create an environment where employees feel empowered to take risks and push boundaries. For example, the late Tony Hsieh, former CEO of Zappos, was known for his radically transparent and vulnerable leadership style. He openly shared his struggles, both personal and professional, and encouraged his employees to do the same. This approach helped create a unique company culture where employees felt safe to experiment, make mistakes, and ultimately contribute to the company's growth. Vulnerability also fosters stronger connections between leaders and their teams. A study published in the Journal of Applied Psychology found that leaders who express vulnerability are more likely to be seen as relatable and trustworthy, which improves communication and collaboration. When team members feel connected to their leader on a human level, they are more engaged and motivated to contribute to the collective success of the team, creating a culture of feedback and continuous improvement. A healthy team culture thrives on open communication and continuous feedback. Empathetic leaders who encourage feedback create a culture where employees feel comfortable voicing their opinions, whether positive or critical. Regular feedback loops allow leaders to stay informed about the challenges their team members face and offer support when needed. This ongoing dialogue fosters trust and helps teams grow by identifying areas for improvement and celebrating successes. One of the most effective feedback cultures can be found at Netflix, where the company's leadership promotes a culture of radical transparency. Employees are encouraged to provide direct feedback to one another, regardless of rank or position, as long as it is intended to help the company improve. By removing fear of hierarchy and focusing on mutual growth, Netflix has been able to foster a high-performance culture that embraces accountability, creativity, and innovation. Recommendations for building a healthy team culture. Practice active listening. Leaders should prioritize active listening during team interactions. By fully engaging with team members' concerns and feedback, leaders demonstrate empathy and build stronger relationships. Encourage open dialogue. Leaders should create spaces where team members feel comfortable voicing their thoughts, whether through open forums, one-on-one meetings, or anonymous feedback channels. This helps to cultivate psychological safety and ensures that all voices are heard. Model vulnerability. Leaders should openly share their own challenges and mistakes to foster a culture where vulnerability is seen as a strength. This encourages team members to take risks and be more innovative. Prioritize team well-being. Empathy should extend beyond professional concerns to include personal well-being. Leaders who support their team members' mental and emotional health create a more engaged and productive workforce. Celebrate small wins. Acknowledge and celebrate team achievements, no matter how small. This reinforces a positive team culture and motivates individuals to continue contributing their best work. Building a healthy team culture through empathy and psychological safety is a vital leadership practice that fosters innovation, collaboration, and resilience. Empathy allows leaders to understand and support their team members on a deeper level, while psychological safety creates an environment where individuals feel empowered to express themselves and take risks. Leaders like Mary Barra and Tony C. have shown that prioritizing these qualities leads to more engaged, loyal, and high-performing teams. By modeling vulnerability, encouraging open dialogue, and supporting team well-being, leaders can cultivate a culture where everyone feels valued and motivated to contribute to the collective success of the organization. Focus point 5. Integrating self-love into leadership for sustainable success. Self-love in leadership is often overlooked, yet it is a critical factor in sustaining both personal well-being and professional effectiveness. Leaders who practice self-love are more resilient, have higher self-esteem, and make better decisions, all of which positively impact their teams and organizations. At its core, self-love in leadership means recognizing and honoring one's own needs, values, and limits while maintaining a strong sense of self-worth. By embracing self-love, leaders not only improve their own mental health, but also foster a healthier, more productive workplace culture. The importance of self-love for leaders. Self-love provides leaders with the emotional stability needed to navigate the complexities of leadership roles. It fosters a sense of inner security that allows them to handle setbacks and criticism without becoming overwhelmed or losing confidence. Leaders who lack self-love may find themselves constantly seeking external validation, which can lead to burnout, anxiety, and poor decision-making. On the other hand, leaders who cultivate self-love are better able to maintain perspective, remain calm under pressure, and make sound, balanced decisions. One powerful example of self-love in leadership can be seen in the life of Oprah Winfrey. Throughout her career, Winfrey has faced numerous challenges, from personal trauma to public criticism. However, her deep-rooted sense of self-worth and commitment to self-care have allowed her to maintain resilience and continue pursuing her goals. Winfrey has been open about the importance of self-love in her journey, often emphasizing that taking care of oneself is essential for being able to give fully to others. This philosophy has been a driving force behind her success as both a media mogul and philanthropist. Research supports the idea that self-compassion, an essential aspect of self-love, enhances resilience and emotional well-being. A study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that individuals who practice self-compassion are more likely to experience emotional stability and less likely to suffer from anxiety or depression. For leaders, this translates into a greater capacity to cope with stress and setbacks, which is crucial for long-term success. Balancing self-care and leadership responsibilities. One of the biggest challenges leaders face is balancing the demands of their role with the need for self-care. The high pressure and constant demands of leadership often lead to neglecting personal well-being. However, leaders who fail to prioritize their own self-care risk becoming depleted, which diminishes their ability to lead effectively. Integrating self-love into leadership requires leaders to set clear boundaries, delegate tasks when necessary, and ensure they have time for rest, reflection, and rejuvenation. A well-known example of this balance can be seen in the leadership of Arianna Huffington, co-founder of the Huffington Post. After experiencing burnout from overworking, Huffington made the decision to prioritize sleep and self-care as essential components of her leadership. She even wrote a book, The Sleep Revolution, advocating for the importance of rest in achieving success. By recognizing her own limits and taking steps to care for her well-being, Huffington not only improved her personal health, but also became a more effective leader. She has since implemented wellness programs at her company to promote similar practices among her employees, demonstrating how self-love can positively influence organizational culture. Additionally, a study from the Academy of Management Journal revealed that leaders who practice self-care are more likely to exhibit transformational leadership behaviors. These leaders inspire and motivate their teams by modeling positive behaviors, such as resilience and emotional intelligence, which in turn fosters higher engagement and productivity within the organization. The ripple effect of self-love on team dynamics. Self-love in leadership extends beyond personal well-being. It has a profound impact on team dynamics. Leaders who embrace self-love are more empathetic, patient, and supportive, creating a more positive and inclusive work environment. When leaders value themselves, they are better equipped to value and support their team members, fostering trust and mutual respect. Nelson Mandela is a powerful example of a leader who practiced self-love and compassion in his leadership. Despite facing years of imprisonment and immense personal challenges, Mandela maintained a deep sense of self-worth and forgiveness. His ability to love and respect himself allowed him to lead South Africa through a peaceful transition from apartheid to democracy. Mandela's leadership was marked by his emphasis on empathy, reconciliation, and inclusivity, all of which stemmed from his strong foundation of self-love. His leadership had a transformative effect on the nation, demonstrating how self-love and leadership can create lasting positive change. Furthermore, research conducted by the Harvard Business Review found that leaders who practice self-compassion are more likely to create psychologically safe environments where employees feel valued and respected. This not only improves employee satisfaction, but also boosts creativity and innovation, as team members feel safe to express themselves and contribute their ideas. Fostering authenticity and vulnerability in leadership. Self-love enables leaders to embrace authenticity and vulnerability, which are key components of effective leadership. Leaders who practice self-love are not afraid to show their true selves, including their imperfections. This authenticity fosters deeper connections with team members and encourages a culture of openness and honesty within the organization. Brené Brown's research on vulnerability and leadership highlights the importance of leaders being authentic and open about their own struggles. In her book Dare to Lead, Brown argues that vulnerability is not a sign of weakness, but a powerful leadership trait that builds trust and fosters connection. Leaders who practice self-love are more likely to embrace their vulnerability, which allows them to connect with their teams on a deeper level and inspire loyalty and commitment. Recommendations for integrating self-love into leadership. Prioritize self-reflection. Leaders should set aside time for self-reflection to assess their own emotional needs, values, and goals. This practice helps leaders stay aligned with their personal and professional vision. Establish boundaries. Setting clear boundaries around work and personal time is essential for maintaining balance and preventing burnout. Leaders should delegate tasks and avoid taking on more than they can handle. Practice self-compassion. When facing setbacks or challenges, leaders should practice self-compassion by treating themselves with kindness and understanding, rather than self-criticism. Embrace vulnerability. Leaders should be willing to show their authentic selves, including their imperfections, to foster trust and connection with their teams. Model self-love for the team. By practicing self-love, leaders set an example for their teams, encouraging employees to prioritize their own well-being and personal growth. Integrating self-love into leadership is not only a personal necessity, but also a professional strength. Leaders who cultivate self-love are more resilient, emotionally balanced, and effective in their roles. By prioritizing self-care, setting boundaries, and embracing authenticity, leaders like Oprah Winfrey and Ariana Huffington have demonstrated how self-love can lead to sustainable success. Furthermore, leaders who practice self-love positively impact their teams, creating a culture of empathy, respect, and psychological safety. Ultimately, self-love in leadership fosters both personal well-being and organizational success, making it an indispensable trait for today's leaders. This audiobook provides a deep dive into integrating self-love into leadership, a powerful tool for personal well-being and professional success. By understanding the importance of self-care, authenticity, and empathy, leaders can not only enhance their own lives, but also positively impact their teams and organizations. These lessons are essential for fostering healthier work environments and achieving sustainable success. Key focus point summary. Understanding self-love in leadership. Leaders must prioritize self-worth to maintain resilience and effectiveness, leading to better decision-making and emotional stability. Balancing self-care and leadership responsibilities. Incorporating self-care into leadership is essential for avoiding burnout and ensuring long-term success. Creating positive team dynamics. Leaders who practice self-love foster trust, empathy, and respect, creating a more inclusive and productive work environment. Authenticity and vulnerability. Embracing authenticity allows leaders to connect on a deeper level with their teams, enhancing trust and loyalty. Modeling self-love. Leaders set an example by practicing self-love, inspiring team members to value their own well-being and growth. Practical recommendations. Set clear boundaries. Ensure that personal time and self-care are prioritized alongside work responsibilities to maintain balance. Practice self-compassion. Treat yourself with kindness during challenges to foster emotional resilience. Lead by example. Demonstrate self-love in your actions to create a healthier work culture. Embrace vulnerability. Authenticity builds stronger relationships and encourages openness within your team. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this audiobook. Your interest and commitment to improving yourself as a leader is truly appreciated. If you found this content valuable, please like, subscribe, and share it with others who could benefit from it. Remember, listening to audiobooks like this one is a great way to improve your English language skills. The more you listen, the better you speak. Stay engaged, keep learning, and continue growing.